So, yeah. All right. So, Aaron, you were saying you weren't feeling very well.
It's up and down, mostly down, but I try and get everything in, as soon
Okay.
as I can.
Are
Uh,
you well enough to handle the workflow that you have, the work that you have to finish up this week?
yes, I'll take care of it this week because it's just the assessment I have to do plus this final assignment.
All right, good. Okay, so if you take a look at any of the assignments that you've handed in and any assessments that were not quizzes, if I made any comments, this is the week. This goes for everybody. This is the week that you spend your time trying to correct as much of the work as you possibly can.
Right.
Yeah, so that's part of what you're going to do this week. It's not all, obviously, but to be totally honest with you, all you really have to do this week is to take your trifold brochure and correctly package it and create a print-ready PDF, which
Okay.
we actually covered it somewhat in past weeks, but my intention tonight is I'm going to go over all of that one more time with you to make sure that everybody's crystal clear about this. It's very important. It's a very important part of the process. You know, you can learn how to be very creative, but in the end, if you don't know how to produce a file that goes to a printer properly, somebody else is going to end up having to do it for you, and
Right.
your value drops.
Right.
So, and it isn't that difficult to do. It's just a matter of understanding some very basic things and making sure that you check everything before you actually do that.
Right.
So this
The
whole
issue I had was once I did the packaging and I went all the way through because I had you on the recording and I followed each step. So once I got to having the actual file on my desktop and I tried to submit that along with the PDF file, it said something about it can't accept this type of file.
Okay, wait. Did you zip the file?
Yeah, I did the zip file as well.
You did the zip file, and it wouldn't let you upload the zip file.
Right.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to recommend for you and for anybody else, because I don't technically know what's going on and how to help you fix it. The best thing for any of you to do would be to contact the help.
Okay.
Contact the website. Go to the website and go to help and tell them what's going on, and they will help you figure out what's wrong with this. And I would do it. This goes for everybody. I would do it right away. That should be something that you should be working on like no later than tomorrow, because really, you don't want to wait till the last minute and then, because this week, here's the problem with this week. This is our last week.
Right.
So what happens is whatever gets submitted to me by the end of the day, Saturday, is it. I can't do any more with it after the end of the day, Saturday. I can't, I have to grade on Sunday and submit on Monday. So it doesn't give me much time to do anything else, and I'm not really supposed to. So that's the problem. I just want to make sure everybody understands that all of the work that you do needs to be complete and submitted no later than the end of the day this Saturday. Oh, and by the way, just so that you know, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, boy. It just went blank. I lost the whole thing.
Understandable.
I forget. Well, it'll come back to me in a minute. Basically, you have to get everything in by the end of the week. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Yeah. Also, if you are making up work, this is critical. You need to not just submit the work. You need to submit the work and notify me by email that you've submitted the work. Most of you are doing this okay. However, there's been a couple that have submitted work, and then I notice about 4 or 5 days later, I'm told I submitted the work and you're not grading it, go in and grade it. And I look back and there was no emails from them. So, it's like I'm not a mind reader, and I don't just go every day and look to see if new stuff was submitted. I'm mostly waiting to hear from people as they submit the work. Then I go back in and check it so I can notify you. So it's very important that you realize that when you submit something to me, send me an email and let me know exactly what you submitted, what week, what assignment, what assessment, whatever. So I know exactly what to go look for. I do get some highlighting where I go in and grade, and I can figure it out. I'm just asking you this because it does make it a little bit easier for me. And also realize that I do have to, unfortunately, I do have to dock a certain amount of points for late work. There's not much I can do about it. You know, I try to go as light on it as possible, but I do have to dock something for lateness. And of course, if I notice something's not incorrectly done, I have to also dock for that. Again, I look at what is correct and I look at what's not correct. But bear in mind, this is the problem. Since this is a print production class, okay, this is color and production. Technically, you really can't have any mistakes, because if you have any mistake at all, technically the printer has to reject it and send it back to you, or you have to resubmit to him. So that's the dilemma with a course like this. It's not really technically correct if there's anything at all wrong on it. You know what I mean? So it's a tricky class. You really have to have everything done right at the end. And I'm letting you know that because it's that kind of a fussy situation. I do understand that it's a class, but I do want you also to give it the respect that you would give handing a project in to a printer as if it were a real job. Okay?
Got it.
All right, good. All right, so you have no other questions or anything?
No, not really. I mean, the only problem I had with that submitting the zip file and trying to submit that package file was that once I clicked on it, all it did was open up the whole package.
Okay, are you sure it was zipped? Because if it was zipped, it shouldn't have done that. The reason a folder will open up is because a regular folder has a difficult time being attached. And what it wants to do is it wants to go in and find a document to attach. So
Right.
what it's doing is it's opening up the folder to find the documents that you want to attach. That's why you zip the file, because a zip file, when it comes across the zip file, it knows that that's the file that you want to select and upload for transfer.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, are you sure that you had this thing zipped at the time that happened?
I did. And what it was saying was it wouldn't accept it because it wasn't PDF.
I had the same problem. Your whatever your settings are, Mr. Sweeney, they won't accept anything but PDF.
Right.
Well, I have other students submitting zip files to me. I'm getting zip files from people.
Yeah. It's giving right, but it's giving me and Bob the message that.
Okay. What I'm saying is that you need to go tomorrow and both contact help and see if they can figure out what's going on, because I can't really say what's going on. I don't know what to make of it at all.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay. All right. So Bob, come back on for a minute. Is it quiet where you are?
Well, semi.
Okay. Try to keep them quiet because I want to talk to you. I'm going to move on. Unless you guys have a question, I'm going to move on. What I want to do is, Bob, you did submit your work for review in my critique. So when I do a critique like this, I like to have a discussion among students. So Aaron, Bob, you're the students that are here, and Maurice, if you can keep the room quiet, you're welcome to unmute and come in with us. But we have to have see how nice and quiet this is? Got to be that quiet, or we have a problem. You know, it'll affect the recording, and that I don't want. Okay? Let's try.
Yes,
Let's try unmuting Maurice.
I have a 6-year-old grandson.
I got to mute you, Maurice. There's too much noise there. See, it's coming through. Nothing personal. It's just that I just can't have all that background. It'll just spoil everything. So I have no choice but to mute you. I'm sorry. Bob and Aaron, you can unmute. And the reason I want you to unmute, Bob, is because I'm going to critique your stuff. And I want you to be able to talk to me and ask me questions or say whatever you want to say. Okay? Can you unmute?
Yes, sir. I will. But like I said, I have a 6-year-old grandson. He's a hard head, so
Okay.
makes too much noise. I'll have to mute.
That's fine. Then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open this up. That's the wrong one. Hold on. Let me open this one up. Come on. Oh, it's already open. Dummy. Okay, I'm going to go to critique. I have 4 things from you, Bob, to critique. Okay, so I got week 3, week 2, week 1, and week 1. So let's start off with week 1 color. Okay. So your color wheel. All right, so let's open this guy up. So here's our color wheel. The color wheel, the basic color wheel looks fine. All right. There's not a whole lot you can say about it. You did this correctly. I don't know what else to say. It's fine. Now, the way that you represent your primary, secondary, tertiary, and complementary colors. Okay, so what you did here is actually pretty nice. It's a little bit different than the way I did it. It does have a certain similarity to the way I did it in that you did choose to use the grayed out colors that are not part of the color arrangement. And I like it. I like the look of it. I think that this works really nice. And I kind of like the way you've got the little centerpiece and you've actually linked the 3 primary colors by the black box and the black lines connecting it. So I think this is a very good approach. It's the kind of approach that when somebody looks at this approach,
No, the right side.
they don't get confused. They know exactly what they're looking at. That's what I'm always looking for when you make a presentation such as this. Will a person with very little information, like all of you, most of you at least, I shouldn't say all of you, but most of you at one point had very little information about all this stuff. Are you going to struggle when you look at something like this to understand what you're being presented with? That's the job of the graphic designer. Yeah, you want to do something unique, you want to do something interesting, innovative maybe, but at the same time, you want to make sure that the point gets across crystal clear to even the simplest thinking person. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. One of the first things that I learned was that simple is sometimes better.
Mm-hmm. Less is more, simple is better, absolutely. So yeah, and this is, I'm not saying that this is that simple. I mean, this has got a kind of sophistication to it. I mean, you've got a black box that are essentially highlighting the color, and then the rest is in gray, you know? And then on top of it all, you have it linked to the center. Okay? So this thing shows the relationship and it shows the 3 primary colors. Go to the secondary and you got the very same thinking, except now you've adjusted this thinking unto your secondary range of colors. And you could do the same thing with any secondary range. You picked orange, violet, green. Doesn't matter what color you picked. As long as they're secondary, you did it. And this ultimately works every bit as good. And if you look at the tertiary, it's the same basic thing. You've got 3 colors chosen here, and you've got the same basic pattern repeated. Let's see what else we got down here. And a complementary. Now, the complementary could fool people, Bob. And the reason that is because you've actually got 4 complementary. And, you know, a complementary color scheme is 2 colors. So what I would have chose to do with this instead would be to just simply choose yellow to violet or red to blue and end it right there. I wouldn't go and show. As a matter of fact, I've had a number of students come in and show me every complement. And if you do something like that, it's not that you're wrong, because if you follow them across, you got them lining up the correct way, but you've got all of them in there. It's very confusing for people. When you give information, you want to give information, I think, as you were saying, in the simplest possible way. So what is a complementary color scheme? It's 2 colors opposing each other. So the answer would be one of these. You don't need any more than that. So not that this is really wrong, but it's kind of unnecessary. I would have just given the 2 and let it go at that. So do you understand where I'm coming from with that, Bob?
Yes, sir. What I had planned to do was make an X in the little purple box or the purple circle
Yeah.
and then make the colors go like that, you know, put the colors in the purple circle
Yeah.
for each one, but I couldn't really figure it out.
Oh, and I don't think that would have been necessary. I guess all I'm saying, Bob, really is that I would have just as least seen you produce for me the relationship of blue, violet to yellow, orange, or red to green. And then that's it. And let the rest of them just be, you know, grayed out. I think that works just as logically. And more people, I think more people would be able to understand that. Of course, there's always going to be one or two people that are going to say, "Oh, well, complementary colors are red and green." You know, no, they're not. It's not the idea is not that they're red and green. They're opposing one another. You know, so you can't really show the opposition any other way than to have the colors, you know, showing opposing one another. Okay. So, but I mean, it's good. This is a nice job. It looks technically pretty good. I don't know. Did you say you were not very proficient with Illustrator, Bob?
It's just not my favorite. I really like InDesign. It just seemed simpler to me.
Well, you know, InDesign is a different program. It has a different purpose.
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah. I mean, just so that you know, I mean, when you are working with these programs, you're working in tandem. You've got 3 programs that do very specific things, and you basically compile their efforts together. And where you compile them usually is either in InDesign or in a program like Flash or in a program like Dreamweaver, depending upon what you're doing. So, I mean, it's really, I mean, Illustrator is an incredibly powerful program. And actually, once you get the hang of it and comfortable with it, it's a tremendous amount of fun. I'm sure that it can be a little bit frustrating to some at first. Everything that I did when I learned all my stuff in the computer was frustrating to me, because I knew all this stuff and worked on desktops and stuff. And then suddenly I was no longer doing that. I was working on a computer, working with programs that made no sense initially. And it was difficult. And it's difficult for you, I'm sure. But in time, you'll see what I mean. It'll grow on you, and you'll understand it, and you'll feel really good about it. So anyway, this is a nice job. Do you have any final thoughts or any questions or anything you want to ask me, Bob, before I move on to your next piece?
No, I kind of liked it too. I was hoping you did.
Yeah, I liked all of the pieces that you did. As a matter of fact, there were very few people who submitted things that I didn't particularly like. And just because I criticize something, and just because there are things wrong with something that you did, doesn't mean that I don't like it. It just means that, you know, my judgment is that I have to say such and such is wrong. Otherwise, would I be doing any good for you? No. I mean, you know, it's not meant to be mean. It's meant to be, I'm doing my job, you know, telling you what you need to fix, and hoping that you'll understand where I'm coming from and what you're supposed to learn from it.
You know what works, and that's what your job is, right? You're supposed to show me how to do it better.
Yeah. Hopefully I can do that. Hopefully there's something that happens that you know, I'm able to say, hey, you know, try doing this and maybe you'll get a better result, or, you know, whatever. So absolutely, that's what I do. All right, let me close this. And let's go to the next one. So this is the week 1 assignment, or assessment, I guess. Yeah, assignment. All right, so you get the primary colors. Okay, so you picked a kind of a Mondrian-ish kind of assessment. You got your primary colors. Let's open this up. You've got your primary, you've got your analogous, you've got your tertiary, and you've got your complementary. And I don't know how you could go wrong with this. The only thing that I would say to you as far as a criticism is concerned, you might have been a little more imaginative in your shapes. I mean, having a static grid like this is a little bit, I don't know, a little bit overly simplified maybe. I think you might have gone in and played with the shapes a little bit more and appeared to have a little more fun with it. You know what I mean? That's not, I'm not trying to, you know, say anything bad specifically about it. It's just that, you know, it could have been a little more exciting the way that you created your shapes, I guess.
I'm a little bit overly geometric, I think.
Well, I mean, I don't mind it being geometric. I just think that having them all the same size and arranged like this is a really easy way to go. And I just think that you could have used maybe a little bit more creativity with it. There's two parts to any problem when you're a graphic designer. There's the creative part of the problem or project, and then there's the technical part of the problem. And we here are focusing mostly on the technical stuff. But at the same time, I don't want you to ignore the creative stuff. I mean, part of this is to see if you could use your imagination in a slightly wild manner and come up with something unique and interesting. So
I never seem to have enough time, especially when I have 2 classes in a mod.
Yeah.
And I was dealing with college algebra, and I mean, it's.
Well, listen, I'm not, I'm just making a critique on a thing. That's all. It's not a judgment call. Like you did fulfill the assignment. They're here. You did fulfill the assignment. I don't have a real problem with that. I'm just saying from a creative standpoint, it could have been a little bit more interesting. That's all. Doesn't mean that I would knock your grade for that per se.
I have plans to do some other things with it. I mean, I've seen some things that I could probably, make changes to it and this and that. And, I mean, I spend a lot of time practicing when I'm not doing classwork.
Well, maybe if you get some time, you go in and you play with this a little bit. I think the most important thing for anybody, though, whether I'm critiquing or not, is to concentrate on anything that you haven't completely done and anything that you have the opportunity to make some extra credit on. When I mean extra credit, I'm not going to give you extra credit, but I'm saying if I gave you a grade of, let's say I gave you a grade of 110 out of 120, and I said to you, Bob, fix such and such, and I will give you full credit, which I've said to a number of students. Well, can you do that? Can you go in and fix that thing that will get you that extra 10 points? That should be your first line of thinking. Do I have the ability to fix what Mr. Sweeney is saying so I can get those extra 10 points? Or is it something that I don't quite understand? Or is it something that I just don't have time to do? So that should be the way to approach those things. Concentrate on getting the opportunities that will offer you points. I can't offer you points on this because I'm not sure. I think I gave you full credit on this, didn't I?
I think I was late on it, so.
Oh, you are late. That's a different story. I'm stuck. I can't do much about things being late unless there's some kind of a very good reason for that. So, I can't do much about that, but I try not to knock too much off for lateness anyway. But yeah, but I don't think that I said to you that this is so boring that I want you to try to.
No, you said it looked pretty good and it was well done.
Yeah, it works. It's not that. And remember now, this is a critique. And what do you do in a critique? You bring up points about it. You don't come in and say, "Oh, good job." Do you like it? Yeah, I like it. Aaron, do you like it? See what I mean? That's not what a critique's all about. What a critique's all about is you talk about the piece and see if you could come up with something that the person who did the piece can use to maybe improve on the piece or improve on another piece that they might do next time. That's essentially what it comes down to. And I'll tell you something, once you become a graphic designer, every piece of work that you do will be critiqued. I mean, you're going to be working for other people who are paying your way. And they're not going to just accept everything that you put in front of them every time. Nobody's that good.
I think it's pretty important to understand that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think some people don't. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't per se, Bob, but there are people I don't think that realize that, when you go in there, you're dealing with people who have certain ideas, and they want to tell you those ideas. And as a graphic designer, part of your responsibility is to understand and have a sensitivity for those people and their ideas. It's your responsibility to do that, So I just say that to you because, again, that's what this kind of represents. I've been in situations where I've done critiques with people. I've had 12 people in the room, and I had 12 different people throwing ideas at me, and I had to write all this down and think about it and decide you know, out of all those 12 people and their ideas, what ones do I think are worth exploring, and which ones do I think I look at and abandon? I mean,
yeah. As a creative person, you kind of have to have that creative license to make it look like, you know, you think it should look. You can't let people change everything you do.
no, but you also have to have it. It's a fine balance, Bob, between holding your ground and demanding something that you think is right and listening to other people. Because I'll tell you one thing, you might as well realize right off the bat, you're going to be working with people that are higher up the food chain than you. And if they wanted to, they could call you in a minute and say, look, you will do this. Like it or not, think it's right or wrong, you will do this. And you generally don't want to get into that kind of relationship with people, because that sours and becomes very bad. So it's a very diplomatic kind of thing goes on. It's a dance almost, where you're in there with people and you're building relationships, you're building trust, and that trust comes from them feeling comfortable that you are respecting their wants and desires, along with giving them the best that you can. Does that make sense to you guys when I say that?
Sure. After all, you do work for them. Yes,
you do. And it's, one of these things, you just got to have the proper amount of respect for them, So that's it. I mean, any other thoughts on this? Aaron, you got anything to say? What do you think?
No, I think you're right about that. I think the only difference is being in a contract with a client and being a freelancer.
Hold on a minute now. It doesn't make a difference whether you're a freelancer or whether you're in a relationship with a client. Like, for instance, if it's a job, you got to realize that if a freelancer is getting paid by somebody too.
Right. Well, no, what I'm saying is, I understand that part. What I'm saying is this. There's a difference between being a freelancer and actually working for a company when you have to do something.
Well, you have to do something, unless you're working on projects for yourself completely.
Right.
You are working for somebody else as a freelancer, and the same basic premises apply. You're going to be you're going to be seated with somebody, and you're going to have a debate or a discussion, and you're going to give a demonstration of what you're doing, and you're going to have to justify what you're doing, and you're going to have to accept their criticisms of it, because remember now, they still are paying the way, and they still have a vested interest in your project and making sure that that project comes out to be all it can be.
Right. I think the only difference is, as a freelancer, you can decide whether or not to accept the project.
Well, you can do that if you don't want to make money.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the bottom line is that most freelancers are not so incredibly wealthy that they can be that way. That's not to say that there aren't some who are, but right. The majority of freelancers are people who are, hungry to get whatever they can get.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that,
No, I understand.
And there's another whole part of this, Aaron, you've got to think about. There's a certain challenge to any and every job. There's a challenge that comes with every single job. I mean, you look at that job as an opportunity to do something really spectacular based on your skills and ability at that time, with a project that you may have very little understanding about overall. It's a challenging kind of a thing.
Right.
I think really good graphic designers love to challenge themselves.
Exactly. And that's the reason I brought up the point, because for me, it's not a problem. But I've seen freelancers that say, and it may be the ones that you're talking about, that they become so established and they're at a point where they're financially set.
Yeah.
To where they can turn down certain projects that they feel like, okay, they're not given creative license to do what they want, so they turn it down.
I don't know. I'm not sure I would totally agree with that. I think if anything, they probably would hand the job, they would turn down the job probably because they felt that there wasn't enough money in the job to make it worthwhile. I don't think, though, they would necessarily turn a job down. The only way I could see that possibly working is if the designer got such an overwhelming feeling that the client had no idea at all what he wanted, and not able to communicate, and left you almost feeling like you were in some kind of void.
Right, that's my point.
And maybe I could understand that, because you could get yourself into an awful lot of aggravating trouble dealing with a client who just doesn't know what he wants or what she wants, and is going to fight you tooth and nail the whole way.
Right, that's my point.
I would agree with, and I've been there. I've been in that situation, and I know how uncomfortable it is. If the person doesn't particularly care about you, they're not going to give you an inch. They're going to give you nothing but trouble. And they're going to make it seem like, you just don't know what you're doing because you can't come up with it. And they don't know, and they can't tell you. And why should they even have to tell you?
Exactly. And so that's
kind of a silly thing for them to think in the first place, because, they know their product. They know what the whole thing's all about. And they could very easily give you information if you were asking for the right information.
Right, and that's my point, because there are some people that they know what they want, but they just can't convey the message properly.
Yep. Or some people simply come right out and say, I don't really know what I want. I've had that happen. It's the weirdest thing. You're like, what am I supposed to do with that? You don't know what you want. You have no idea. You can't tell me you want any particular color. You can't tell me, you have no idea. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And then you end up doing a lot of creative work, and
then it's like, that's not what I had in mind. Well, you said you didn't know what you wanted. Well, I didn't want that. Or some crazy thing like that. I've heard some weird stuff. I know. I have heard it. I've heard it.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think the difference that lies between whether or not you want to be a designer or you want to be an artist. If you got an ego, then chances are you're going to turn down a lot of jobs.
Right. Well, I think that artists have egos, and I think on a certain level, graphic designers are artists. It's just that they work for people using a different kind of a group of elements. They work with color, they work with graphic shapes, they work with typography, they work with a different group of things, and there's a principle behind everything. Now, painters, I'm using painters as an example. Painters can be representational painters, and in that case, they have something behind their art, or they can be simply abstract artists, and abstract artists could have something behind it of an abstract nature. Generally speaking, though, you don't have graphic designers working on truly abstract things, unless, of course, it's some kind of an abstract business of some sort, But yeah. I think that graphic designers are radically different than fine artists. They both are artists, but they are different. They have a different language that they use. They have different thought processes. The majority of the time, unless it's a commissioned artist, like somebody who has commission to fill space with paintings of some kind, they're working on what they do and what they like, and they hope that other people will like what they do and they will sell. Graphic designer is a different game. I mean, you're doing the work that you do, you're presenting that work to people who might have a use for it and will pay you to take their project on, which has a set of parameters which you're going to be working with. One of the parameters that you will be dealing with, you might not know an awful lot about, branding and standards. There are companies that have very elaborate branding and standards catalogs, which give you all the information that you need about things like type use, logo use, color use, things that you use in your presentations, your art, your ads, whatever. And I don't know whether you guys know very much about branding and standards. Have you ever encountered that, Bob or Aaron?
I have.
Only in class. We talked about it in my advertising class.
Okay. So there you go. And it's a central part of this thing. I mean, the majority of the time when you go to work for somebody, even if as a freelancer, especially if it's a larger company, one of the first things that they do is they hand over a branding and standards manual. And they ask you to take a look at the section or sections of that branding and standards manual that would relate to somebody like yourself, who's a graphic designer, who's going to be working in the constructs of their branding and standards. and they want you to know what's allowable and what's not allowable. So, you know,
Mostly that's large corporations and such.
not always. I mean, smaller companies, mid-sized companies can have it. You know, I'm sure that there are plenty of companies out there that don't have a branding and standards manual, but the majority of them do. And to be honest with you, one of the things that you should be doing as a graphic designer when you work for anybody is try to, if they don't have a formal branding and standard, is you should be trying to talk to them about how you're going to design things and how you're going to use your knowledge of branding and standards to basically do things for them that will give them a consistent look, because that's what it's really all about, coming up with a consistent look, a look that people will ultimately recognize as coming from one place. That's what it's all about.
Right. I mean, I've come across a few companies that are successful companies, but they don't have anything that's actually recognizable. Like, they'll give you an example of what they want in a logo.
Yeah.
And primarily the first companies that they come up with is Nike or Coke or something like that. And they want you to do some type of branding work to equal that. You know, to elevate their company to where it's recognizable, to where it doesn't have to have a name. You instantly think of that company when you see the logo without the words.
And it's a big job. And I mean, you know, generally people like Coca-Cola have spent probably, I probably could say millions of dollars over the years on this. I mean, that Coca-Cola logo actually goes back to the 1800s. And
right.
the use that type that they use goes back to the 1800s. They've never changed it really. They've
right.
modernized it once or twice, but they've kept it basically the same all the way back. And they've been using red for, God knows, close to 50 to 75 years. They've been using that same red.
Right.
Yeah, that's its own color called Coca-Cola Red.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at their major competitor like Pepsi, and Pepsi has changed their logo at least half a dozen times. And I shouldn't say that. Maybe about 3 times they've changed their look. Whereas, you know, they're creatively, Coke does all kinds of stuff, but they're very strict to keep a very tight look. And it always is somehow that red and the white text with that type on there in a very clean representational way. Never deviates from that, you know.
Right.
I doubt it will for a long time, you know.
Yeah, probably won't. And Pepsi went from the bottle cap look to what they have now.
Yeah, no, they've changed a number of times. So it's really been an outstanding example, because there is such a great difference between Coke and Pepsi and what they've done. So here's Bob's Aqua Excursions logo. And just so that you know, from a technical standpoint, you have your crop marks, you have your bleed marks, you have your area that bleeds correctly indicated here. You have nicely laid out elements. Now, again, you know, you could have done this probably 15 different ways. That layout that you did is a nice, clean layout, but believe me when I tell you, there's probably 50 other ways that you could have laid this out, and it would have looked gorgeous, equally as gorgeous. So just so you realize that. And then
I just realized something too. My Aqua Excursions logo colors, they're backwards from my trifold.
Oh, well, you can always go in and fix that. I would imagine that you would decide which way you'd want to go, and you would fix it accordingly. I'm thinking that the dark blue on the Aqua and Excursions, I think it would probably be better if you reversed them. I think that's where you went on your other right.
That's correct.
Okay. And on this one here, I'm just asking, all right, you did use your PMS colors, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. So these would be 2-color PMS, and then I guess that's black. It's a little hard. Yeah, it's black. So it's actually 3 colors. It's perfectly correct. It's what you want. And you did a front and a back. So here's your back. I get front. This is the back, right?
No, that's the front.
That's the front, and this is the back. So then you'd have Aqua Excursions, and then you would have the website on there. All right, so there you go. I mean, again, I think this looks really good. This is the kind of thing that, from a technical standpoint, that's exactly what I'm looking for. The elements that you have on there would be just enough elements for the printer. He would need his registration marks. You've got the registration marks. These are your bleed crops. You either need them or you don't. I mean, I've had printers say, yeah, put them on. I've had printers say, no, don't put them on. Then, of course, you definitely need your crop marks, and you have your crop marks. And your color, which does bleed 3 ways, left, right, and bottom, is bleeding. So it's all there. Technically, it's a nice, clean job. My mind's eye, I can see this cutting out and being a very clean-looking card. The layout is generally nice. Here's the other side. Again, I can kind of cut this out and get an idea of how this is going to look, and it looks pretty clean. I have very little complaint about when I look at this particular project. Any comments, Aaron?
No, it looks pretty good to me.
Yeah. Bob, how about you? What did you want to say about this? Anything?
No, I thought it was cool that I found a city near a real harbor.
Yeah. You happy with this?
Yeah, I would, I wouldn't be adverse to handing this out if it were my card.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's very clean. That's the important thing. It's very clean, and it's laid out in a very appropriate way. Again, there's probably 50 ways that you could do this card. This is one that just works nicely, and I can't imagine anybody having big problems with it. It just, it's well placed. All the elements are well placed in here. There might be a little bit of space up at the top here, but I'm somebody, I kind of like white space. I like white space, and I like using white space, and I'm not afraid of it. And the more I think about projects when I work on them, the more I think about white space and where I'm placing the white space and whether it's working or not visually. And that's something that I'll say to all of you. Think about the white space when you're working on these things. Think about the way the white space works. And also remember that people tend to start in this area over here and work down and over like this. And, remember that you want this to be placed well. And then where are they going to go from here? Obviously, they're going to go here, and then they're going to come back over here, and then they're going to go in this direction. So, this has got a very comfortable flow to it. I mean, my eyes look at Aqua Excursions, Bob Rogers, and then I'm up at Aqua Excursions, 239 Waterway Road, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So, all right?
Well, I was, let me see, what was I just about to say? Oh, yeah, I tried to follow the crap rules.
Yeah. So, Maurice, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, how you doing?
I'm okay. How about yourself?
All right, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's to the point, and I like the car. There's nothing wrong with the car at all.
It's clean. It's clean. It's what you want. It's got a very clean and kind of corporate look.
A lot of people.
Y'all.
Yeah, you got a lot of people that want to put all these different this craziness on it, and it takes away from the essence, away from the actual card itself or what you're trying to accomplish with it.
When you're working with a business card like this is not a postcard. It's not an advertisement. It is a business card. And usually when you hand somebody a business card, there's very specific bits of information you want to convey. And you want it to be conveyed in a very professional and clean way. And the impression when you get this is that these people got their stuff together, because look at how nice this card is, and all the information's right there. And I want to go on an Aqua Excursion. This is the guy to call. That's what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. Most
So
definitely.
all the craziness and stuff on a business card, and some people do it, very often it's misplaced. That's my opinion. Very often it's misplaced. You're much better to pick beautiful colors, a nice stock and very tasteful text treatments, nice symbolism if you can come up with a symbol, and then, of course, well laid out, and a little bit unusual if you can figure that one out. Like I say, there's probably 50 ways you could do this card if you really went at it. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, let me get rid of that. File close. I think there's one more. That is your week 3. Let's go to there. And that is your aqua brochure. So, yeah, so your aqua brochure looks good. I think, Bob, I think you went a little low with the Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure. I would be up about here maybe, the logo here, and then come down to about here. You know what I mean? I think you're going a little low. I think there's this looks a little bit, I don't know. It just seems a little like it might want to go a little higher, the Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure. The relationship that you have between Aqua Excursions and Dive Adventure is fine. And it looks like you've got it fairly nicely centered on the page, on the panel, I should say. But I think it wants to move up a little bit. What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Who else thinks I'm right? Who else thinks I'm wrong?
I think that it could go up. I would make it evenly with the other, the middle Aqua Excursion. Just to,
You're thinking move it up to where it levels off about there, maybe.
Yeah, level it off.
I mean, that would probably be okay, but remember, you're not really going to see those two next to one another because you're going to see the back once it's all the way opened up. That's the last thing that you're going to see.
But all in all, I think that it's a good brochure. All in all, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he got it. I think it looks good. He's got his turtle in here. He's got a nice color, which I believe he probably picked from somewhere in here like I did. Is that how you did it, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you were able to just pull out a CMYK color and pull it from the background photo. One thing I will criticize is you probably could have adjusted the space more on these bullet points. The gaps are a little bit uncomfortable. I would have probably made them a little bit less. As a matter of fact, when I open up mine and show you how to package it, I'm going to show you how I adjust mine.
Well, I didn't change that at all. That's just the way it was.
Yeah, but I would adjust it. It having that much of a gap in there is really not visually very nice.
Yeah, I don't think I did that with the other side and the bullet points. I did decrease the size of those.
I'm not talking about decreasing the size of the bullets. I'm saying the space between the bullet and the word.
Right, the size of the space on the other side.
It just needs a minor bit of tweaking is all it really comes down to. And I'll show you in mine. I have the same problem. And
some of it too was because, you know, see this widow right here, world, around the world at the top.
Where
it says Aqua Excursions offers exotic dive travel around the world.
Yeah. Well, you know what I generally do is I force line break it. I'll place my cursor right before the T, and I hold down the Shift Enter, and I give it a soft return. And since you're ragging the text anyway, I don't see where that's any big deal. And, you know, you could have done the same thing here where you see where it says whether you're – and I'll tell you something. You get a different feeling when this aqua is moved over some, you know, and this might re-rag slightly anyway once you do that.
That, and it seemed like there were an awful lot of hyphens, and I didn't want to have a lot of hyphenation.
If you don't like a hyphen, what I generally do is I generally right away try to do a Shift Enter and do a soft return and see what it looks like with the word broken, the line broken. So that's another option that you have. And you can also play around with hyphenation exceptions. Let me get to the second page though. Let's take a look at the second page. So you see the second page is all right. Again though, you have the same situation here where your bullets are probably a little bit further away than you'd want them to be. You know? They
were even further than that.
No, I know. But there's a way you can adjust it, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I probably should have shown it to you. But I'll show you how to do that tonight, and you can go and you can try it on this and see how it works out for you.
Now, this is not the one that I turned in for grade.
Yeah.
This light blue, Find Your Own Paradise in the Exotic Islands.
Yeah.
I did change that color in the final.
Yeah, I remember mentioning it to you, and I remember seeing you did change it. You made it
But
all.
I just wanted to do this one because I wanted to hear more about why you think so.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just, in this particular case, I just think that that light blue going from Find Your Own Paradise in the Exotic Islands, Enjoy, and then Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure, I think it just comes off a little bit wacky with that light blue. I would have preferred to see you go Find Your Own Paradise in the Exotic Islands and then Enjoy Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure.
Well, see, my thinking was, we've got the logo in the middle back panel, and then the logo up here at the top, Aqua Excursions Dive Adventures. And then, the more times they see the name, the more often they're going to remember it. That was the way I.
Yeah. Well, another thing that you could have done here is you could have tried this. Find Your Own Paradise in the Exotic Islands. Get rid of the word enjoy and then just have Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure. And I would have tried that and submitted that and see if my client would accept that. That word enjoy to me technically is not a make it or break it word. I could easily see Find Your Own Paradise in the Exotic Islands, Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure. To me, that works. And, enjoy there is just a word that's kind of, I don't know. It's
probably should have used a comma after islands anyway, huh?
Yeah.
And then, enjoy wouldn't be an unnecessary word at that point.
Well, but I'm just saying, I think it reads just as well with Find Your Own Paradise in the Exotic Islands, Aqua Excursions, Dive Adventure, dive resorts and live aboards, remote adventure diving in. And see what I mean? There's a good flow to that. The statements work really well. So in my mind, that word enjoy could easily get knocked out of there. Now, if you did that and you submitted it and your client said, oh, no, don't change our copy. Oh, yeah. All right. So you put it back in and you try to deal with it. But as a graphic designer, you can present that way. That's something that you can try to do. All right.
And always have a second or a backup ready, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to point out here is I think you have a little bit too much blue going on this inside spread. To be totally honest with you, I think I would much rather see some of this body copy that you have in here in black. I wouldn't mind it if you had Australia in blue and then dive the Great Barrier Reef, visit and dive one of the world's most beautiful reefs, and then Fiji, soft coral, Nirvana, blah, 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 blah. See what I mean? I would have preferred that to having all blue. I don't know, for some reason, too much blue like this cheapens it for me. So I guess what I'm saying is that where it's okay to have like Find Your Own Paradise, the Exotic Islands, Enjoy Aqua Excursions, Dive Adventure in blue, I might have been working with something like Aqua Excursions, Dive Adventures black, Dive Resorts and Live Aboards, Remote Adventure Diving in black. Then maybe you could go blue on these, and then this copy here, black. That copy over here, black. And then over here, destinations, you could go blue with that, and then maybe Australia, Fiji, Socorro Islands, and Tahiti. That could be blue, but the rest of that should be black. What do you think about that?
I think that in the middle where the lady is sitting down, it's kind of blurry.
Yeah.
And he could have made that black.
Yeah, but I think you don't want to just make one little paragraph black like that. It would look very strange. That's why I'm saying when you're working, there are two different types of copy you're working in here. You're working with text and you're working with essentially call-out copy. This is a piece of call-out copy right there. That's essentially all this right here. That's call-out copy, okay? Headlines, call-out, whatever you want to call it, right? The rest of this stuff in here, all this stuff, that's body copy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Except for that, of course. But all this stuff is like body copy. And in my mind, I think body copy is better put whenever possible black. Oh, and one more thing. Notice how close this looks. Notice how close that copy gets to her head there. See how close that is to her head? You have a tremendous amount of space between these lines of copy. I don't know whether you actually made a line return on that or whether you use space after. Do you remember which one you used, Bob?
I just returned.
Okay, that's the problem. What you need to do is you need to remove those returns, and there's a setting for space after, and you can set individual points so that you have like maybe 4 points of spacing of leading, and that will create nicer spacing. And then that would remove that look of her head bumping into that copy, because the line would go up way higher, up to where I'm about here. Okay? So it's never really a good idea to use returns between paragraphs. The best thing to do is or an extra line space between paragraphs. That's what I mean, an extra line space. You're always better off using space before or space after. Do you know where that is?
Yeah, I think I've used that before.
There you go. So that's the way to go with that. So I'm talking about like some of the subtle stuff. Now, I think you've got clownfish in Australia's barrier reef and swimming with the mantas in Squirrel Island. That's black. So actually, that's the only black copy on the inside of the spread, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, like I say, the body copy would be better in black. I just think too much blue cheapens the look of this a little bit. It makes it look a little bit odd. You'd expect to see black copy, at least in the paragraphical areas. Okay? You okay with my criticism? Bob?
Sorry, my wife brought me my dinner. Yes, I'm fine.
Okay. So that's what I would say at this point. And you know, you can I would try it just to look at it to see what it looks like and see if maybe you like it better that way. I'd give it a try, if for no other reason than just give yourself the visual reference to see it and say, yeah, I do like that better, or no, you know what, I think I'm just as happy with it the way it is. Okay?
It would be better contrast.
It would be better contrast, and I just think there's too much blue. I think that the copy being all blue like that makes it look a little bit weird. It's not what you'd expect to see. You'd expect to see some black copy in there. And especially since this is 4-color process, we can certainly use whatever we want, and multicolors like that are no problem whatsoever. So, okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Any other thoughts on it before I go? No?
No.
All right, close. All right, so that's the critique for tonight. Unfortunately, that's the only 4 that I got, Bob. It was you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing with us. So what I want to do now is I want to move on to talking about what you're going to do this week with this project. So let me open up the project here. So here's my project. Okay, my project, again, is the same thing. We're going to be putting together our Aqua Excursions dive adventure, and it's essentially done. I've got mine done, and I'll take a look at my inside spread. So here's my inside spread, and I think as I was saying to you, Bob, you'll see that my spacing on my little bullet points are pretty bad. Okay, they're pretty bad. They're a little bit further out than I would want them to be. So what I would do at some point is to come in here and see if I can adjust my spacing a little bit. And I can. What I can do is go to the window menu and go type in tables. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Type tabs. There you go. And I can bring out my tabs. Now, you guys, any of you had this out before? Have you looked at tabs yet at all, anybody?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, so anyway, it's on the type menu, tabs, all right? And this is, there are your tabs. So whenever you have bullet information like this, you have tabs. Now let me show you something. I'm going to select all of these guys. And notice what I got over here. I got these 2 little cursors on this bar. I got this guy up here on the top and this guy down here at the bottom. And when I drag this one on the bottom, watch what happens. I'm moving this thing over, okay, and it's moving the entire line over until it reaches there. If I click on the top one here, I can drag that over. And since I have all of them selected, watch what happens when I let go. I'm going to move it over to about there, okay? Watch my bullets over there on Australia, Fiji, Hawaii, Bora Bora, Moorea, and Coral Islands. Ready? Boom. See what it does? It brings my tabs in. Easy, right?
Right.
Do it all at once. You select all of them, you do it at one shot. Now, if I want to move my block of type over, I do want it to be indented some, but maybe I don't want it indented that far. All I have to do is click on the bottom one, and I can move the bottom little triangle, move that over to about there, and you see what it does? It moves the copy over to wherever I place it. That's probably a little further than I want to go. Let's indent it slightly, okay? And now when I click off of this guy, let me get my tools to show you. Click off of this guy, I've adjusted my bullets. What do you think, Bob, Aaron? Does the bullets look better like that, or do they look better like that?
No, closer is better.
Yeah, close is better. So that's really all there is to it. And it's the same thing over here. I've got these done. I'm going to select the whole bit of it. And notice that this guy is like jammed right up against the edge there, and I'm not going to be able to adjust this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by clicking on it, and I'm going to drag that over like this. And you see I've moved it in. I think I went a little far with it, so I'll back it off a little bit and get it where I want it. I guess I'll come even a little further. That's probably pretty good. Then what I can do is click on the bottom one and move it over, and I think I got it about where I want it there. And there you go. I've adjusted them as well.
Okay, question.
Go ahead.
So what's considered too close? Is it just the eye test?
Yeah, the eye test. I mean, I think what I have is very comfortable, and I know that it's not exactly the same as that over there, but from a visual standpoint, I think the majority of the people that would be looking at this piece would not spend a tremendous amount of time trying to figure out whether my bullets are exactly the same on both of them.
Right.
So that's really what it is. I think it is essentially the eye test. It's really knowing where to go to get your tab ruler out, and knowing that the top little triangle adjusts where the tab position is, and the bottom one is the actual edge of your tab where that goes in the box. I can select that, and I can move it all the way over here. Now, actually, I got to select the text first to do this. But I can click on this, and I can drag that thing way over here, and you see what it's doing?
Right.
Yeah. So that's not what I want, obviously, but I mean, I'm just trying to give you an idea. That's what the bottom does. It gives you the ability to position the entire block of text with the little bullets where you want it to be. And then you got this, which can adjust the spacing between the line of copy and the actual bullet itself. And usually to do that, what I do is I make sure I come out a little bit, give myself some room. Then I come up here and I tweak this thing. See what I mean? Place it where I want it to be placed. Again, I'll bring it back to where I had it, about where I had it. That's about it, yeah. And then what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll adjust this over. And I like to indent it a little bit. I indent it some. I don't indent it a tremendous amount, but I indent it a bit at least. And there you go. And you got something that looks pretty good. You guys could do that, right?
Right.
So that's what I want you to do. Right now, remember, this is week 4. So aside from making up the work that you're doing, in other words, when I say make up the work, finishing anything that you haven't finished, or working on anything that you have critiques or things that we've talked about, or that I've left notes to you indicating do this, do that for credit, whatever. Do all that, get that all done. And remember, some of these things, hopefully you're going to end up putting in your portfolio. So you'd want to make sure that you got everything looking as good as possible anyway. So go in and do all the things that you could do to make these projects look good. And then ultimately you'll submit them. You'll submit them to me at the end of the week. So that's the 2 steps here that we're working with. And that is essentially going in and cleaning everything up, making sure that everything's been dealt with and addressed. It looks exactly the way you want it to look. And then what you're going to do is you're going to package it for the printer. There's a 2-part process to packaging this thing. the first part is the actual packaging of the project. Now, did I talk about packaging before?
You have, but like Bob and I were saying, we had a problem with it and
Right.
submitting.
But do you understand what packaging's all about? Do you want to tell me what packaging's all about? Why are we packaging?
Right. Well, you're getting all the files that you use to create the brochure.
Okay, so how does packaging do that?
What it does, I guess it combines everything in that brochure as far as fonts, images, the different types of fonts you used.
Okay,
And
so there's two, that's correct. There's two ways it's done though, right? There's
right.
the way it's done in a PDF and there's the way it's done in packaging. Do you know what the difference is between the two?
No, I don't remember that.
All right, well here, Bob, do you remember it all?
I don't remember the second. I remember the first.
The first being packaging?
Yeah, just using, going into file and package and setting it up.
What do you get when you package it?
Well, it combines, like you said, your text, your fonts, excuse me, your color.
What does it do though?
Your images.
When you package, what does it actually do? Do you remember?
Well, it puts it all together so that the printer has the exact instructions.
In a folder, right?
Right.
Yeah, so what you end up with is you end up with a folder. And inside the folder, there's two other folders. One of the folders has the fonts that are used in your project, and the other has all the images that are used in your project. And then what it does is it creates a duplicate of your actual printed piece in the folder as well. And it creates all the appropriate links to the images and the fonts that are within that package, so that somebody who's a printer can take all that information and put it on their computer and open it up. If you were to just send me an InDesign file without packaging it, the file would open up, but it would not open up to connect to photos that will enable that piece to be printed. Packaging does that. PDF, on the other hand, is a different story. What PDF does is it's a very special kind of a file that takes all the pictures that are being used and embeds them into the file. And it takes the fonts that are being used and it embeds the parts of the font that are used in that project in that file. Almost like as if you were going to create outlines with them. And so that when it opens a PDF up, the real photos are there and the fonts are there, and you are able to, a printer would be able to print that file. Okay? So that's what PDF is. And the reason that it's important is because printers use PDFs and printers use packaged files. So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to make sure that you guys can create a proper PDF for a printer and that you can create a proper packaged file for a printer. So that's what
Okay, so do you generally send both?
One of the things that you are going to want to do is you're going to want to have a conversation with the printer. And you'll ask the printer essentially, do you want me to send you a PDF or do you want me to send you a packaged file? There was a time when PDF was not widely accepted and you would be asked to send the packaged file. However, today, the PDF is very widely accepted. And you're going to find that a lot of printers will say, yep, you can send me a PDF. And then the question is, okay, so I'm going to send you this PDF. What are the specific requirements for the PDF? I'm going to go over those requirements when I actually produce the PDF so we can discuss all that. But the bottom line is, who are you asking? You know who you're asking about this?
The printer?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you really want to talk to this printer at some point?
Well, it would make sense. I mean, he's part of your team.
There you go. So you see what I'm trying to tell you is that it's your response. And would you necessarily know what the printer needs without asking?
No, you wouldn't.
There you go. You're absolutely right. You wouldn't. You wouldn't necessarily know. The only way you would know is if you had a long history with the printer and you've been through this a number of times and you kind of have put together a preset for that particular printer, which you could do.
Right.
But even that could be different at certain instances. But the majority of the time, if you've worked on a printer or worked with a printer, his set of priorities are generally going to be the same.
Right.
You got them in the first place from the printer.
Exactly.
I can't give them to you. I can't tell you what the correct the correct settings are. I can't tell you that. The printer has to tell you that. And there are different printers and they have different settings. Maybe many of them use the same settings, but not all of them. And there are different settings, and you'll know when you ask the printer what he wants because he'll tell you. And you put those settings in.
Exactly. As you stated, it's becoming increasingly the norm for printers to say PDF. Some still asks for EPS.
Well, EPS is generally they won't ask you for an EPS because an EPS is generally it's a file. If they were going to be using an EPS, they'd have to have a document to put the EPS into, because that's what essentially an EPS is. It's a document that goes into something. When I create artwork from Adobe Illustrator, I create it as EPS, encapsulated PostScript, and I'm putting that in a document. The difference between an EPS and a PDF and a packaged file is a packaged file is a complete document, and generally an EPS is a part of a document.
Right. I mean, it's rare, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
They just ask for
But
the
I'm just saying the majority of the time they're going to tell you that they want either a PDF, and you will probably be asking them. That's why, if you remember at the beginning of this project, I told you that I submitted to you guys, I gave you guys I gave you a template to work from, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I said that don't build a template, use my template. And I said the reason that I'm doing this is because I want to impress upon you that whenever you work on something like this, you find out who the printer is that you're working with. That's the first thing you do. Find out who's the printer so I can talk to the printer. And if you're doing a trifold, say I'm working on a trifold with you, would you be able to supply me with a blank template, InDesign, PDF, whatever, that I can use to create your trifold from? And most of the time, they're going to say, yep, and they'll send it to you because they have templates like this that they make on general things that are standard things. And believe it or not, a trifold folder is a very standard, a very general item. It's not a real special item. If it were an exotic folded item, that might be different. But a standard trifold with a standard fold is a standard item. And they've probably made hundreds, if not thousands of them. And they do have a template. And the bottom line is all they want is for you to get the job done and send it to them correctly so that they can strip it and put it on the press, run it, and bill it. That's all they want.
Right.
On one of the bids that I received, I'm waiting for the second bid. That's why it hasn't been turned in.
Okay.
But on one of the bids,
and by the way, just
the instructions were there.
Bob, hold on a second. You said that you have one of your bids in?
Yeah, I have one bid came in. The second bid did not come in.
That's fine. So this is for all the students. If you guys have one bid in and you're waiting on another bid, I'm not going to deduct late. I'm not going to deduct late points because you got one in, and I know because you're telling me that the one didn't come in that you at least made the effort. You got one in. When the other one comes in, I'll give you full credit, but I'm not going to dock you because one's late because it wasn't really your fault. The printer didn't get it back to you, and I can't dock you for something someone else did. It's just not right. So you understand that?
Yeah, got it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead. You're going to say something, Bob? I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just the printing instructions. You know, what they want, PDF or EPS or whatever it is that they want turned into them, was on the bid that I received.
Yeah. So there you go. But there still could be other things that you'd want to know. Like, for instance, did they give you the size of the bleed?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Did they indicate any slug area?
Yes, sir, they did. It was all, I mean, it was all there. There's
That's
like
good.
about 8 paragraphs.
That's good. But guess what? The next bid that will come in might not have that information. That's what you want to look for, to see if they both have that information. That's why I'm saying printers are printers. They're different people. It's not all coming from just one big print warehouse. They're different printers, and they deal with things differently. Some of them will just give you figures and wait for you to call them and ask questions. That's what you have to get used to. And you can ask them anything that has to do with production, because these guys are expert at it, especially within the context of their own environment, and you're not. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So that's the next thing. So now I guess we're good with that, right?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So, all right. So now what I've done basically is I've played around with my page. Let me go to the front page. And I also have some bullets over here that don't look particularly good. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to see if I can adjust those bullets somewhat, bring that over a little bit. And then what I think I'm going to do is click on the bottom one, and I'm going to bring that over just slightly, because I do like it to be somewhat indented, right?
Right.
Okay. And now I'm going to go File, Save. So now I think I've made my bullets look a little bit better all the way around. Okay. So again, what is tonight all about? Tonight is all about prepping your project for final delivery to the printer. That's what this is all about. So I've gone in here, I've looked at my bullets, and I saw that there were some bullets that were going on that I didn't like, and I'm going to fix them, which I did. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my copy, and I'm going to make sure that I have no spelling errors in my copy. Have any of you, Aaron, Bob, did any of you at any point run your spell check on your project?
Yes, I did.
You did. Very good. Okay.
So did I.
What? Oh, you did?
I did as well.
Okay, good. So I'm going to go up to the edit menu, and I'm going to go spelling, check spelling. And I get my check spelling, and I'm going to come up here, and I got excursions. Oh, and by the way, just so that you know, this afternoon I went in and I deliberately misspelled a few things so that I could actually make some errors fixed. All right. So there's excursions, and I'm going to change excursions to excursions. I got customers spelled wrong, customers. I'm going to change that. Samu. It turns out that Samu is somebody's name. So I have to remember that Samu is not misspelled. That I'm going to skip. Now I got Ridge Mills, which turns out Ridge Mills is a name of a street, or actually it's a town. And it's one I made up anyway. So I'm just going to skip on that as well. And now I go on to the inside of this thing, and there's a live dash aboards, which is really not a word, but it is a word that was produced for this particular ad by the copywriter. And I believe it's correct. I'm just going to skip it. And then I got the.
Sir, I think it says live aboards, like you live aboard
dive
ship.
resorts and live aboards. Yeah, you know what? You might be right. Live. Live.
One other thing, Samu is a great white whale.
Yeah, but I believe Samu was also the guy's name. One of the guys that was working for this company was named Samu, and I know it was a white whale. I know it was a whale, but in this case,
okay.
Yeah. So discover, I'm going to change discover to discover. Okay, and I got scuba blue. That's the name of the company. We'll skip that. Oh, and by the way, I missed something. It's done. But let's go back to that because I have a problem. Check this out. Where is it? It was there. Let Scuba Blue take you. Now, notice that Scuba Blue, see that? It's a very badly broken line. See it?
Right.
Okay, now this is justified text. So what I want to do with this is I want to come in here and I want to select, I guess I'm going to go from there. Let's go, oh, I guess maybe from here to go to there. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change the spacing. I'm going to go 5. There we go. And I just adjusted it by 5. See what I did? I adjust the letter spacing by 5. See what I did?
Yes.
And by doing that, watch, I got Scuba Blue up on one line. And actually, if you look at this, it still looks pretty good in there. So I don't particularly like justified text. I happen to like rag text, but a lot of people don't like rag text. And in this particular case, I chose to work with this justified text. And the Scuba Blue broke. So you just want to make sure that the name of a company doesn't break. So I just happened to spot that and I fixed it. Okay?
Okay. Question.
You see how, what I'm getting at is, you see how serious I am about fixing things. I mean, I could have just easily blew by that and let that go, but that's not what we're doing here. We're actually coming in and we're trying to clean this thing up and make this thing look right. Go ahead. What was your question, by the way?
Back to that particular line that you just adjusted.
Yep.
I wasn't sure or not, but wasn't there like a double space in between the L and the period before it, that if you did a delete space, that it would do the same thing? In between wedding and period and let Scuba Blue?
Where is that? Let Scuba, oh, here?
Yeah.
You think that's a double space there?
Is it?
Yeah, but it didn't change much.
Okay.
Yeah. See, there was a double space there, but it didn't really change that. Okay?
Okay. Now what about the hyphen between honeymoon? That's fine?
My cousin sent me a
That's
link.
fine. That one's okay.
So this is like a...
Is this Rio? Rio? Oh, gone. What happened? All right. All right, so you can have hyphens. You can use hyphens. Nobody likes hyphens, but you're going to find that sometimes hyphens are just, you're going to have hyphens. And there's one in there, and actually there's 2 in there. I see it. Under C is 1. And
you just keep it at a minimal, right?
Yeah, the problem with this is that I don't know whether I could try it. Let me go to Scuba Blue and let me go all the way up to, say, for the family. And let's see if I'm able to make that go up. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that. Let's go 5. 5, yeah. Yep, nope, 5 ain't gonna do it. Let's go 10. Nope. I'm gonna have to go up quite a bit, 25. Yeah, see, and then I end up getting that again. No, let's go the other way, 25. Honeymoon Scuba Blue. I think that's no good. Let's try 20. 15. That might be all right. Let's try it. Let's take a look at it and see what that looks like.
Now locations is hyphenated.
Yeah. So you see, one way or the other, you're going to get hammered. You're going to get hammered one way or the other. And I guess in this particular case, I mean, that don't look too bad either. But the bottom line is, you're going to end up doing something. Let's see what happens if I play with this. You could go on and on with this endlessly. Let's see if I can go. Oh no, I want to go over here. I want to go negative 10. Going to be more than that. 25. All right, let's see how that looks. There. So I did get rid of that, but to be totally honest with you, the words are starting to get a little bit jammed up. You see what I'm talking about there?
Yeah.
Little bit jammed up. I probably could live with it that way, but that's what you would do. You would play around with these lines and see whether you could get rid of this is Undersea World. It's possible I might be able to get rid of that one as well. Let's go to that line there, and let's bring that up to 25 as well. Let's see what happens. Nope, they don't like that a bit. Let's go to 10.
What if you adjusted the indents?
The indents, I don't know. I don't know that I'd want it indent. I don't know whether I'd want it indent.
No, I mean up here in the top right, where it's all 0 inches, except for.
Oh, here? No, I don't want to
Yeah.
do that because then I'd narrow the columns. I don't want to do that. I'm actually trying to keep this as so. This one here is a toughie. It's not really gonna work for me very well. So I'd live with that. But I don't want to mess with the indents here because that would just make a narrower column, and I think that would correct. See, I could even, if I wanted to, I could even play around with the width on this, okay? But even that didn't change it. I didn't have enough in there to change it, and I don't want that. I want that column to be about that width. So I would probably live with that. That's not too bad. I got another one right here, anemones. There's another one. So, again, some of these things happen. There's not a lot you could do with it. I could, if I wanted to, I could try to maybe go a little wider with that copy, but I still didn't get that anemone. You see what I mean? No matter how I tried, I didn't get that anemone. So that don't look that bad that way. I'll leave it that way. But so anyway, I've got my text correctly checked out, and it looks like everything's in a place that I want it to be. The only thing I don't like is that little A there. Let's see if I can go object, text frame options. Oh no, object, what am I want edit, no, object, where are we at here? Fitting, there we go. Fit frame the content. Okay, yeah, well that's gonna go object, arrange, send to back. All right, and now let me click on this guy. I just want to click on that, move this over. Bring that down. Okay, and now I'm going to select these. Object, arrange, where we at? Send to back. There we go. And now I got my A over a little bit better. I just didn't like the position of that A. Okay, the A and the B basically are for these little clownfish indicator and the swimming with the mantas. That's what those two things are referring to, the A and B, right? You guys know that?
Yes, sir. Footnotes.
Yep. And then, of course, just quickly check one more time. Go back to the front. Is there anything left in the front? I think basically we're okay here. All right. I'm not going to mess with this anymore. I think I'm happy with it. And I go File, Package, right there. Right? Have we done this before? We have, haven't we? You all package.
Yes, sir. You went over it.
File, Package. So now the package dialog box comes up. And over here, we can look at the fonts individually, the links and the images individually, the colors and the inks individually, the print settings and the external plugins. All these things can be looked at individually. But what's nice about the summary is that you get the scope of the entire publication, and it's showing you everything in one quick way. So if we look at the fonts, we see that we used 6 fonts. Now, none of the fonts are missing, none of them are embedded, none of them are incomplete, and none are protected. That's what 0 means. So from the standpoint of the fonts, there's no problems with the fonts. And if there were problems with the fonts, we would see this, that little yellow triangle with the exclamation point. And we are seeing that. Why? Does anybody know why? Of course you do. Why? Why are we seeing that? Where's my problem?
Your colors are RGB. You got 5 of them. They have to be changed to CMYK.
There you go. So I basically loaded this up with mistakes to make sure that some of these things would come out so that we could see how we address this. So I have a choice here now. I could either go cancel, or I could just keep going with this and make a mental note that there are 5 incorrect color space pieces of art, and I could fix them after it's packaged.
I would do it now myself. That way I wouldn't forget.
Well, then I'll tell you what. Let's do that. We hit cancel. And I am going to go into my links panel. Let me drag this down a bit. Let's go to window and let's go to links. And we open up our links panel. And let's split the panel a little bit differently. And we can see that we have these images here. We have an EPS image. We have the diver JPEG. We have the turtle, it's a TIFF, clownfish JPEG, diver TIFF, ocean life JPEG, and reef TIFF.
Just as a note, a side note here, you last week explained that we should go into Photoshop and do this.
Yeah, well, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to start off by clicking on Diver 1 GIF. Now, here's the problem. The one problem with this is it doesn't really show you what is the color. See, it doesn't really show you what the color. Let's see what this is. It's not really showing you. It's not really showing you what color mode these images are.
Wait, at the bottom it says CMYK.
Okay, so that's CMYK. There it is. There's one here. There's an EPS, but this is it. Let me see. Open it up. Yeah, it's not showing me. Let's try Turtle TIFF. This is sRGB. Let's see here. This is. Oh my God! Look at it all. Wow. Yeah, it's not showing me the color of it. It's just that's a color profile. Oh, here we go. That's RGB. So, okay, so there's one of the offenders. See it? Color space, RGB?
Right.
Okay. So what we do is we come over to here. This is selected, Turtle GIF. Click on this, and what we're going to do is we're going to edit the original with Adobe InDesign, Adobe Photoshop. So we're going to choose Photoshop, right?
Right.
Click on Photoshop. Photoshop's going to open up. There it is, and the image is going to come in. Give it a second. It's reading it. It takes a minute. There it is. What do I do?
Image. We're going to image.
Go ahead.
Image, and then
Mode?
yeah, mode. I'm sorry.
We can't see the whole box.
Yeah, we can't see it.
Oh, you can't see the top of it?
No.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring it down a little bit. I'm sorry. Is that better? Can you see it now?
Well, you have to click on image again.
Okay. Image, mode. Can you see it now?
Yeah, then CMYK color.
There you go. And click on CMYK color. And it's just telling me that it's saving it with US web coded SWOPv2 profile, which is probably good for this because I would imagine that it's a coded stock, maybe a web coded stock, and that would be okay. Hit OK. And now watch. I go to close this. It's applying it, so it's actually going to take a second. There, see, it's processing it. It's converting it from 3 channels, which are RGB channels. See here? Did you see? It happened very quickly. Did you see how it changed from 3 to 4? CMYK?
Right.
Okay. So that's what it did. Now
Changed the grid, too. I never noticed that it changed the grid, too.
What do you mean it changed the grid? That grid's always to transparent.
Those boxes were bigger.
They were?
And then when he changed it to CMYK, they went smaller.
I'll be darned. I didn't notice that. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I didn't see it. Okay, so here's the deal. When I go to close it, though, it's saying save changes. Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Because if I say no, it goes back to, right? And then I close that and hit OK. So that's done. Now there's 5 of these guys. Let's go down and let's find the next one here. So this now, I don't see it. It's still saying, what's this now? Let's see, update link.
Come on, Rosie.
There you go.
You don't have to ask permission.
See it? Now CMYK. Clownfish. Look, color space, RGB. So what do I do, guys? Click here. Edit with Photoshop.
That's good. Sounds good to me.
Yep, it's happening. Give it a second to happen. It opens up. Image, mode, CMYK. Okay. And close. And save, yes. And then we go back to the...
Okay, before you do them all, it seems like to me that I remember that if you find your image that is RGB and then you right-click on it, it'll also bring up...
Well, let's try one. Let's take a look at the clownfish is done. Let's look at the... All right, so right-click on it and edit with Adobe Photoshop CS6. So there I right-clicked, and it did pop up the window, and I am now clicking on Photoshop CS6 to bring this in, image mode, CMYK, and this one here is asking me if I want to merge the layers. Now, do I want to merge the layers? Anybody know?
Yeah, you should. Because
Whoa! No. Why not? What's in the background?
Oh, okay, I got it.
Oh, it's transparent.
It's transparent. If I merge the layers, it's going to flatten the image, and it's going to turn all that transparency into white, and it's going to ruin the look. See why I'm pointing this out to you?
Right.
Yeah. You
Yes.
don't want to merge the layers. Don't merge. And you're changing it to CMYK. Okay. And there. See, now it's CMYK, and I am going to close that off. Save changes. Yes. And I think there's one more at least. Let's go in here and see. Ocean.
That was all covered in the video, I believe. That's the way she did it.
Yep. Edit with Photoshop CS6. And I think the reef is the last one. Image mode. Now this one here is CMYK. Yeah, okay. This one here is a JPEG. It doesn't have a transparent background, so you won't get that message. Just save changes, yes. And now let's go back in and let's see if the TIFF is one, or the reef is one as well. RGB. So there's your fifth one. And once again, click on that, right click on it, and edit with Photoshop CS6. And go to image mode, CMYK. Okay. There you go. And it's interesting that in this particular context, it didn't pop that up and ask me if I wanted to merge the layers, or this just kind of converted it. And I see what you mean, Bob. I did see the size of those little change, the size of those little gray grid squares change. It changes, yes. And now, close it. Yeah. Come on, close, will you? Oh, it's taking time to save it. There you go. Okay. All right. So now that one has become CMYK. All right. And that is done, guys. That is done in the links panel, right? You know that?
Right.
Okay. So let's go back to File, Package. And let's see if we've got a difference. Oh, look at that. Right away. See what's happening?
Yeah.
What happened?
The error message is not there.
Error message is gone. Now, look, 8 links are found. 0 have been modified. So the modifications already have been saved. None are missing. So all the links are being honored. None are inaccessible. None are embedded. Do you guys know what embedding an image means?
Means it becomes a part of the entire package.
Yeah, well, no, a permanent part of the document. It is possible for me to go in and do that. On something like this, maybe it makes sense, but the problem, and actually, if you want to know the truth, when you make your PDF, the images become embedded into the PDF. But in this particular one, they're just linked, okay? 0 use RGB, so we've corrected that problem. Now, this is something I want you to see. This is important. Look at the colors. Colors and inks for process inks. How many spot colors?
None.
Okay, so why is that important? Anybody remember why that's important?
Because each spot color is a separate plate, and it would be expensive to add a spot color with CMYK colors or to print that way.
That's extremely good, Bob. I couldn't have said it better. And this is what I want you all to understand. All these panels and all these things that we're doing actually do mean something. And it isn't like there's 50 million of these things to do and to understand. There's a few things that you need to know and you need to be comfortable with and you need to be looking for. And that's what we're all about here, getting you guys to know these production techniques. This is your new language as a graphic designer working on production. It's not difficult. And ultimately down the road, you got a printer who's going to come along and help you as well. So you have any questions about any of this? Does any of this make a mystery to you, or are you all clear on it?
All clear for me.
Okay. In this,
I do have a question for you.
yeah, go right
Now,
ahead.
I hope it doesn't throw a wrench in the works, but up here under links and images,
Yeah.
8 things found, 0 modified, 0 missing. Somewhere, and I can't remember where or why, but I had broken links, and I managed to get them fixed. But is there a way that you can show us how to do that?
Well, I don't have a missing link. The only thing I can tell you is that if you have missing links, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your, I have to cancel this to do this. You're going to go back to your window links panel. And let me cancel. I don't have one missing, so I can't really show you. But if you go to the links panel, you will have another little icon that shows up over here telling you that that link is missing. And what you would ultimately do is you would go here, and you see where it says relink.
1 second to see if I can adjust my screen. Yeah, go ahead.
See where it says relink?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if there was one of these, if one of these had a missing link, that would be available. It would be black. And you would click on that and it would let you browse and you would then go and find that picture and relink to it. That will.
Okay, that's where my question was. What was I actually relinking to?
Yeah, you're going to be using the links panel to do all this stuff. And in the links panel, you'll get icons, an alert message or some sort of a little message in here, depending upon what's wrong with it. And that will be available, relink. And it is essentially a browse. Once you click on that, you'd get a browse and you'd be able to go and find that image. Hopefully it's not an image that you threw away. Hopefully it's just simply something that you moved and it now no longer knows where it is. And you just go find that image and relink to it. Now the purpose of packaging this is, all right, so you clear on that?
Yes, sir, I'm fine. Thank you.
So let me get out of here. So the purpose of all this packaging thing is to go back to package. And okay, we're going to move on. I'm going to hit package. And the publication must be saved before continuing. So essentially what it's going to do is it's going to save itself one final time before it goes through the process of extracting the images, pulling the fonts out of the library, and resaving the document into a folder and reestablishing all the links to all those elements. Okay?
Okay, so where does it go? I'm
going to show you. All right, so hit save. And now it's going to come up. I get my printing instructions. I talked about the printing instructions, right? Your file name, you put a file name in, put some contact information in there, company name and address, phone number, fax, email, instructions, whatever part of this you want to fill out. Generally, some instructions are good. An email and a phone is good. Your name and the company and address, they probably will know who that is. And I'm going to, okay, so you clear on that?
Yes.
All right. It continues. Yes. And here it is. This is your package publication dialog box. So here's what it tells you right off the bat. Right now I'm on the desktop. Okay?
Got it.
That's where I am. It's going to create a folder. So you see where it's telling me here the folder name is Scuba Blue, and I'm going to change this to Scuba Blue Final. F-I-N-A-L. Scuba Blue Final. All right? So that's the folder that I'm going to end up looking for on my desktop. You got that?
Got it.
All right. Now look at what is being copied. The fonts are being copied. The copy graphics, the linked copied graphics, and update graphic links in package. So essentially what this is saying, there's going to be a folder with fonts, there's going to be a folder with graphics, and there's going to be an updated file in the package. You got all that?
Got it.
Okay. Now these things down here you can use if you're using hyphenations, which we're not. Include fonts and links from hidden and non-printing content. We don't have any hidden links. We have no non-printing comment, so we don't need that, our content, so we don't need that. And if you want to view our final report, you can click on that and view it. I don't really care about that. I'm not looking at it. Okay? So you understand what we're doing? These are the three that you're most concerned with right there, the first three. Got that?
Yep.
Yes.
All you're doing really is checking to make sure that they're selected. And I'm going to hit package. And the warning comes up, and the warning basically is a warning. You'll read it yourself. Essentially what it's saying is you only have the right to use fonts for this one project. That's really what that says in a nutshell. The printer already knows this. He's seen this 1,000 times. So he knows this. So you don't have to worry. I leave this up. Matter of fact, you can hit don't show again and it won't show again. But as an instructor, I have to have it here so I can talk about it a little bit. That makes sense, right?
Right.
Yeah. Hit OK. See, it's packaging the document. Now, it was a small file, so you can see it's not taking very long. But it's creating this package. There, it's done. So now I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to find this on my desktop. Scuba Blue Final, there it is. There's my folder. That's my package. I'm going to open it up, and inside, there's my folder that has the fonts in it. These fonts came from the font library. They're the fonts that are in my document. Okay? Go back. Here are my links. There are my links. And my links are my images. Anything that's a graphic element gets copied into the links folder. There's that little file with the instructions on it, which I put nothing on, right? And here is my final Scuba Blue InDesign document. So the printer will ultimately open this document up. The links are here so he can relink to all the documents, or I mean all the images in the document. And if he wants to, he can take those documents and he can put them into his font library so that the document can be opened correctly. So does that make sense? Do you understand why we're going through this process and what it's all about?
Yes.
Got any questions about it?
No, it just ensures that the printer has the right instructions and that your design is not messed up and costs you time and money.
There you go. And the thing that you have to remember is that if you did what we did, go in and check your document, make sure everything was the way you wanted it to look visually, and that you went through spell check and you have no typographical errors. And by the way, the steps of making sure your layout's correct and your elements are correct and that your spelling errors are all checked out. That's something that you would have been doing earlier than this late time. But since this is a very quick class of 4 weeks, I wanted to mention those two things. And I wanted to mention that you at least do them before you send these things over to the printer. Matter of fact, I generally like to make sure my layout and my spell checking gets double checked by somebody like the copywriter or my creative director to make sure that they have the chance to see that I haven't missed anything, because I'm not the best speller in the world. And when you create something, after a while you could be blind to little subtle things, whereas somebody else who has a fresh eye on it can spot things that you can't spot. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. That's packaging. That's what you want to do. That's part one. Now part two. We'll finish this up and we'll be done for tonight. Go file, and what we're going to do is we're going to go save as. Export. And it's going to be scubablue_bill.pdf, and you're going to choose Adobe PDF print. Okay? And where I'm going to go is I'm on my desktop. I'm going to come down and I'm going to look for Scuba Blue Final. Let's find it. There it is. And I'm going to open it. And I'm going to hit save. And in here, high quality print, because I want press quality. Use these settings to create Adobe PDF documents best suited for high quality pre-press printing. Created PDF documents can be opened with Acrobat Reader 5.0 or later. Okay, so here's the deal. The printer gets press quality unless he tells you to do something else. Now, as far as asking the printer questions about this, you can ask him if he has a particular standard that he uses. None is the default, okay? And then there's also compatibility with different versions of Acrobat. Acrobat 5 is the one that they choose. That means it can be 5 or higher, okay? More than likely, the printer will tell you to leave those things alone, but you ask, do you need any particular standard or what compatibility do you want? They'll probably say, just leave it the way it is, all right? The rest of it is, come down to pages. I'm going to print all the pages. There's only 2 pages to begin with, but I'm going to print all the pages, right? And pages again. And then down here, I don't even need to optimize for fast web view, all right? And all this other stuff really doesn't have anything to do with me right now, so I'll leave it alone. Then the only thing that's left is for me to come in here and click on marks and bleeds. And what I'm looking for, since this is a 4-color printing job, there's a couple of things that I want to remember to do. First of all, I want to click on all the printer's marks. The printer's marks that they're going to be giving me will be the crop marks, the bleed marks, the registration marks, right? Color bars and page information. Then do I want bleed and slug? I do. I want to use my document bleed settings. Now watch when I click this what happens. You see how it becomes 0.125 inch?
Right.
You know why it's doing that?
Because it's set in the document.
There it is right there. See that little red line there? That's where I set in the document 0.125 inch. So it knows to look there to find that information. That's why when you create these documents, it's a good idea to do that up front so you don't have to do it on the tail end. If I didn't do that here, I would have to deselect this and give it bleed. Now, I want to include the slug area. I've included, I believe it was a 3/4 inch slug area. I want to include the slug area. So that's what I want, all of that, all right? The rest of this stuff you don't have to worry about. I'm going to hit export, and it is now exporting. Minimize that. In a second, it'll appear in here. Okay, there it is. Any questions about that, how you set up your final PDF? Are you good with all this? This is what your final submission should look like. And then if I double click on this guy, it should open up in InDesign, and there it is. Look at that, all my marks. See it?
Okay, is this your proof, or do you ask the printer for a proof?
No, this isn't my proof. This is my submission to the printer. This is what the printer takes and separates and will create a final proof from. This
Okay,
is
so you do want a proof.
Yeah.
From the printer.
Yeah.
This isn't, well, this is the way I want it, so this is the way it'll be.
Well, no, this is the submission. This is the final piece of art that he's going to separate and run for you. So he's going to use this art to separate into CMYK 4 plates, and then he's going to generate a proof for you, and you're going to approve that proof, and then he will go and he'll set those plates up on his press, and he'll run the job, and you'll get your final piece. So what you have in front of you right here is the PDF version of your final production piece that's going to go to the printer. So what this printer is going to end up getting is a package that has in it the original InDesign document with all of its links and all of its document fonts, plus this composed PDF file that has embedded into it the fonts that are used in it and the images and all of its marks. That's
so what kind of a turnaround time are you looking at for the proof to get back to you?
Well, that would be up to the printer. It depends on what you agreed to with him and what kind of time he's running. You know, he would have a schedule set up with you, or I would imagine he'd have a schedule, and it would be X number of days from the time or X number of hours from the time that you submit the final work, and the final work is accepted by the printer. I mean, theoretically now you've done everything that you need to do correct here, and you've even had your little conversation with the printer, so the printer knows basically this is what's coming, and if he gets what he expects, he can then proceed to do this. If you did something wrong here, he's going to call you up right away and say, you know what, you got to fix such and such a thing, like me. when you submit to me. If there's something wrong, I immediately notify you that something's wrong, fix it, and I'll give you full credit. It's almost like the printer saying, I can't give you your proof until you fix that. So fix it, and then I'll give you your proof. You get the idea?
Yes, I do.
Same basic principle. You know, so if it's correct, and he said to you, you'd have it within 8 hours from the time that it arrives to me correct. If it's correct in 8 hours, I should expect to see this. But that would be something that you would work out with the printer. Okay? So there,
Okay.
we're done. Any questions at all? Anything you want to ask me, this is it. We're done. The night's over. I just want to say, you have anything, now's the time.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can you show us how to submit it to you so we don't have any problem submitting each file?
Well, what I would do now is I would close this up, and here's my Scuba Blue folder. Okay, final. I would, in my computer, which is I have a PDF. Okay, I mean I have a
PC.
Yeah, PC. I would right click on this, and you see where it says send to, compressed zip folder.
Right.
Click on that, and it compresses it. And give it a second to compress it. See, it takes a little bit of time to do this because some of these files, there's a lot.
That's just Windows.
Yeah, well, I think yours probably would take a moment too. It would process.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, it's Windows. Believe me, I know it's got all kinds of problems, but it's compressing it. In a minute, I will have a zipped folder. In a second, right there's my zipped folder. There's my zipped folder. See it? And that's what my zip folder looks like. And then what I would do is I would go into. I can't really submit this to any. I mean, let me see what I can do with this to show you. So I come in here and I go to user dashboard, and so let me log into here. Enter, and let's see. Come on. Okay, I'm going to go to my course, and I'm going to go to color theory. And let's see what I want to do with this. How do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? All right, I'll put it in, and I'll put it in as an announcement because I think it's the same basic idea. So I make a new announcement here. Okay, you should get something that looks similar to this, where you have an information. You can put your title in here. This is my package, and then this is the packaged file. Okay, and then you should have something very similar to this, where you've got an attachment, browse, and then I just go to my desktop, and let's see, where are you? It is. Hello, there it is. Click on the package and hit open. You see how it went in there? You know why it went in there? Because it's packaged. It's not a file. If it were a file, let me go back and see if I can show you. So if I'm going to come in here and click on this guy, and if I go to, let's find the other one, Scuba Blue Final. There it is. If I click on this, watch what happens now. Hit open. See what it does? It opens up and it says, what do you want? And if I click on links, I open that. You see what I mean? It doesn't know how to handle. I'm going to hit cancel. It doesn't know how to handle open folders, but it does know how to handle zips. So theoretically, you should be able to attach this. I'm going to hit save, and I should now have uploaded my announcement that has my package in there that you can get. Let me have a second to get that up there because you see it takes a minute to process this. Whatever you're using, and I don't have access to that, whatever you're using should be something very similar. And if you are having trouble, here's where you want to go. Go talk to the people at help and find out what's going on and why you can't upload this. But you got to make sure that your file is packaged before you do it, okay? Is that good?
Got it.
All right. And you know what? I'm just going to minimize that. And I'm done. Any other questions for tonight? No, we're done?
I'm hoping that I can persuade you to check your settings to make sure that you can accept a zip file.
There's nothing prohibited.
Hello?
Yeah, there's nothing that I can do I've been getting zip files from students in my 2 classes all week. If you're not getting them over to me, there's something wrong on your end, not on my end, because I'm getting zipped files from other students. That's why I'm saying to go to help, because I don't know what to do. I can't help you because I'm not having that problem as a universal problem. If every student was saying to me, oh my God, I can't get you a zip file, then I would do something, but I can't because, hold on a second. Let me go up here. I'm going to stop recording.